Good morning, happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. I know that several of you, have been very closely following the Spokane Sharks Little League team, and we wrapped up our season last week. And I want to say thank you for all your support. Here's my little plaque that I got from all the guys, and it says, "Thanks, Coach Matt, 2009 Sharks." One thing I find when you're coaching kids that are 7 and under is that you have to give them some parameters when you say, what do you want to pick our team name to be, because they're inevitably going to be like the rocket ship blasters from outer space or something like that, and it doesn't go very well when you do kind of a 2-4-6-8 thing at the end of the game. So I had to give them some parameters, and Sharks is what they chose. But anyway, so I got my evenings back. So now on to what you're tuning into the video for, which is some short sale updates and things going on. I'm going to start with bankruptcy again, and I know that over the last month and a half, 2 months, we've touched on bankruptcy probably about 4 or 5 times in the videos, and it's just a reality that in this market right now, there's a lot of sellers that are filing bankruptcy. Again, I'm going to just quickly say this: have the conversation at the beginning if you can, because the conversation needs to come up. If they file bankruptcy in the middle of the short sale process, it really throws a wrench into the process. So if your sellers are going to, or they are in a current filing of bankruptcy, we're going to start requiring at the submission of the package a form letter that their attorney is going to have to sign, basically approving that they're able to attempt to sell their house on a short sale. Why are we doing this? Well, a lot of the banks are starting to require documents such as this. GMAC was one of the first ones we ran into a couple months ago that actually had a specific form letter developed that they wanted the attorney to sign before they would even open the short sale file at all. So what we've done is we're taking that form letter, and we're going to utilize that for anybody's lender, unless of course they start to develop some of their own proprietary, which eventually I'm sure they will. But for now, if you have someone in bankruptcy, call the office and say, hey, I've got a file that's in bankruptcy. I want to make sure I have the right form to send in with my package, and then that way we can get that to you. Okay, approval choreography. This is always an interesting challenge when dealing with short sales, especially if there's more than one loan or lien that we're negotiating. If you only have a single mortgage, it's a lot easier because you have one party that's making the yes or no decision. Most of the time, we're finding the large majority of our transactions have at least 2 to 3 loans and liens that have to be choreographed. And what I mean by choreography of approval is that often one of the two comes through with an approval letter before the other. And if that other lien or loan is taking a long period of time to review in the process and get the approval in, then what happens is we're having to coordinate the two at some point, because you have to have them both able to be approved and able to close in order to clear title, right? So what can happen is a first will come in and the second hasn't, and we're working. And first of all, mention to your buyers, hey, we've got approval on the first, we're working on the second, things are moving forward. You always want to use that as a hook to really keep the buyer involved with what's going on. But often we're going to get to a point where the second hasn't approved theirs yet, and we're so close to the expiration of the first mortgage, for example, that we can't close quick enough. So what will happen, just so you're positioned and understand this, and this is how it has happened for those of you who've had this experience already, is that we wait until we get the next approval letter. So if we have approval from the first that's expiring or expired, we don't get an updated approval letter on the first until we have in our hand the approval on the second. And the reason is we don't want to have that bank just keep reissuing approvals until we know that we have the second mortgage approved. So what happens when we get the second mortgage approval is that most of the time that first mortgage bank is going to want to see an addendum to the purchase and sale contract that extends the closing, because they've already approved a closing, let's say for July 31st. Well, since today is the 27th, since today is the 27th, if we got the approval on the second today, we wouldn't have enough time to close by the end of the week. So be ready and waiting for our office to call you and say, hey, we need to see, or watching your notes, we need to see the addendum for an updated approval letter. My recommendation is that you match your closing date to what the second mortgage approved it at. So if they approved August 30th, for example, you're going to want to say closing shall be honored before August 30th. That's what we're going to send to the first so that we can get their payoff approval letter good through August 30th. So there's some choreography that goes along with this. Don't freak out or be afraid that you're not going to understand how to do that piece. You can always talk to the office and say, I know what I need to do, I'm just not quite sure how to do it, and we'll walk you through that process and get you over there. So the last thing I want to talk about, I want to tell you a quick story about an FHA situation that we ran into. Well, it's been going on now for quite a while. Countrywide home loans, and I still differentiate Countrywide from Bank of America because until the end of 2009, even though it's technically Bank of America, they're utilizing the exact same processing centers and process flow as Countrywide had. So that's a way for us to differentiate rather than Bank of America 1 and Bank of America 2. We're continuing to call it Countrywide. So this was a Countrywide file, and as you know, Countrywide's timelines are very long, and the process before they'll allow us to escalate it can be 30 days or more. So as we were moving along, we finally got it assigned to a phase 2 negotiator, and then randomly, after we had waited for 30 days for this phase 2 negotiator to process the file and get back to us what they needed to do the FHA short sale, we call in and all of a sudden they've closed the file out, and they closed it out without going through proper FHA protocol and FHA process. Well, in our office we have a philosophy. It's called we be nice until it's time to not be nice. And I know that's not proper English. We are nice until it's time to not be nice. Well, when I was first training Aaron, who's our senior negotiator on short sale negotiations, I explained this philosophy to him, and he completely latched onto it. This was his kind of a throwback to the 80s here in the movie Roadhouse, and Patrick Swayze has this phrase, and he's like, oh God, that's from Roadhouse, that's Roadhouse. And anyway, he latched onto it, and Aaron has become the master of being nice until it's time to not be nice. So in this situation, we had obviously turned a leaf where it was time to not be nice. The interesting thing is that Aaron didn't get on the phone with the negotiator or a supervisor and run them through the coals and run them through the ringer to get done what needed to be done, though he does that if necessary. Because this was FHA, he has some buddies over at FHA that he just got on the phone and said, hey, you guys, you need to take a look at this file. I'm emailing it all to you right now. Here's what Countrywide did. They completely didn't follow protocol. They closed it out when they didn't need to, and I need you guys to step in. It's interesting because FHA actually ends up being very similar to like the Securities and Exchange Commission is for stocks. When it's their loan, FHA, the parent, the Federal Housing Administration, they are the final authority. So they stepped in, and I'm sure Countrywide is experiencing some serious fines right now. They stepped in and said, you guys need to not only reopen this, but you need to move this to the top of your stack. Because we were concerned. We said, guys, what they're going to do is they're going to reassign this, and they're going to make us wait 30 days before they will process it. And Aaron's buddy over at FHA said, oh, no. You guys are not going to wait on this. Your buyer has been waiting around long enough. They're putting this to the top of the stack. And it was quite humorous because Aaron was getting these copies from FHA to Countrywide, and he was just all over them and said, oh, by the way, this better be at the top of your stack, and this needs to be processed ASAP. So it's an interesting story because, first of all, if we didn't know the processes of FHA, then we would have been completely lost and would have just started the process over at the beginning. And if we hadn't known somebody at FHA, it would not nearly have been as easy to get someone to take a look at this. And so for those of you that are of the philosophy that it's not what you know, it's who you know, I am in full agreement with you on that. Who you know helps you get things done and get things to the place that it needs to be. So in wrapping this up, a couple of things. We're going to start our monthly calls next week, the first week of August. If you have an opinion about when you want to have, what day of the week you want to have that call, reply to the email and let me know, because I want to do my best to accommodate as many people as we possibly can, because it's really valuable that you're on those calls, especially if you have current short sales. If you're not doing short sales or you won't have one for a while, then it may or may not be beneficial, but especially for those of you that have short sales that you're working right now, it's a great opportunity to strategize with Jessica and myself, but also with other agents that are working short sales currently. So, and then also, For those of you that are interested, at the very bottom of the email that had your video link on it, I have a link to my Active Rain blog, and I did a quick survey over the weekend. So if you're doing short sales right now, I'd love to hear your comments on what you love and what you hate about short sales, because it's just interesting to me. So check it out. Go take a look at the blog and give me your opinion, and I'll put you into my unofficial poll and kind of see what are the most hated and most loved pieces of short sale. And yes, there are things to love about short sales. You might have to dig a little deep, but they're there. So, all right, have a great Monday, have a great week, and let's keep getting short sale deals done. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.